Hello, I'm Eric Spilligra, editor at CropLife and CropLife Iron magazines, here with a special guest this week on CropLife Retail Week, Brad Burkhart from Corteva. Brad, welcome to the program.
Hey, glad to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, so before we get into our topics of conversation today, if you could give our viewers a little background information on yourself, where you're from, where you grew up, and how you came to join Corteva.
Live in Evansville, Indiana, southwestern part of the state. I'm what you call a market development specialist. So I've been with legacy companies, I guess, going on 17 years now, through the ranks, if you will. Started in North Dakota. I was up there for about a little over a year. Then I kind of moved down to Southern Illinois near Carbondale. I was there for a while. I was a local territory manager there for, oh my gosh, it's about 7 years. Then I shifted into Indiana. Evansville is basically back home, so I eventually got to get back home. And since then, I've been in this market development position for about the last 4 years. And people ask, what is a market development specialist? So it's a fancy term for saying that I work with mainly with our retailers and our local crop protection territory managers. So I support basically all of our reps throughout the state of Indiana and Eastern Illinois. So that's kind of my core geography, if you will.
Okay. All right. Well, before we dive in then to Corteva specific stuff, I mean, in general, let's kind of set the stage, 30,000-foot view from the customers and growers, retailers that you've worked with in the marketplace. I mean, what's the read on 2025, and how are they trying to adjust to all the uncertainty we're seeing? So,
It's a great question. So it's been a challenging year, especially here in the Midwest. I think where I live in Evansville, we're sitting at 42 inches of rainfall for the year. We average anywhere from 47 to 55. So we're almost at our max rainfall for the year, which I don't have to tell anybody that's going to tune into this. They all are very aware of that. So I think when you rewind the clock and, kind of go back to where the spring started, kind of had a little bit of a delayed spring, right? Now we got some pockets were able to get some things in early, which we always typically like to try to do that, especially on soybeans, because we know that's
sure.
where a lot of yield can come from. But, a lot of uncertainty in the marketplace, like a lot of stuff's going on geopolitically, things are happening, outside of our control. The reality is the American farmer knows at the end of the day, they got to grow bushels and they got to have grain in the bin at the end of the year, right? So what I think is on their mind, what's on retail's mind has been what the topic near and dear to my heart as always is crop protection. So what can we focus on for keeping weeds out of those fields, protect the nitrogen, all those sorts of things, protect disease protection, if you will. It's typically that's the same song and dance every year because at the end of the day, if we don't have those bushels, we can't have anything to market at the end of the year to be able to put out the crop for the next year. So I think the biggest challenge though for 25, what I've seen so far outside of the weather, it's just been water hemp. Water hemp in general, and I think I've talked about this before the last couple of years. We've seen a great shift in the amount of water hemp seed. I think the seed bank is very healthy. And just combating that water hemp has been kind of difficult this year and what we can do to try to basically beat some of those weeds.
Yeah, and I know having talked to weed scientists and weed folks, researchers over the years. I mean, along with Palmer, I think I hear water hemp mentioned the most often as the most troublesome weed, and just the so many different ways that it has developed resistance to almost all the chemistries out there. It's pretty interesting. So again, I know a couple weeks ago I happened to attend a Corteva field day there in Johnston, Iowa, just across the street from one of the Corteva facilities. And they gave a bunch of us folks from the media previews of what's going on in terms of products from Corteva. So if you could fill me in on what Corteva has here that's going to help for the 25 fall season and then moving into 26 and even further forward than that.
Yeah, so it's a great question. And the good news is that we've got a lot going on. Sometimes though that can feel a little bit overwhelming. So if you look at the products we brought to the market in the last year, the first product I'd like to mention, I'll stick with corn and I'll kind of run through the gambit, head into soybeans. But really, so Resicor Rev was probably something that they had showcased there at the plot. So Resicor Rev, it's a multiple mode of action product. It's actually got three modes of action built into that product. So you've got clopyrrolate, a group 4, mesotrione, a group 27, and then a new encapsulated acetochlor, a group 15. I'll talk a little bit about encapsulation. So Corteva's done a lot of work around basically encapsulated technology. And so all of our, basically our new core products that we're launching, the Reservoir Rev, Cairo, and Versa, all are going to be different proprietary capsules that we're going to have that helps deliver different attributes that are pretty favorable for corn and beans. But specifically for corn, that Reservoir Rev encapsulated acetochlor, what that allows us to do is basically enhance our crop safety. So back in the day, some of maybe our older products, sometimes you could get a little bit of a flash depending on weather, things like that. The great thing about this encapsulated acetochlor that's in Reservoir Rev, you get a lot less crop response. The other thing it's able to do is basically widen our application window. So I mentioned earlier about, all the rainfall events that we had. So
Oh,
our old labels on a lot of our other products were about 11 to 12 inches tall. This Reservoir Rev label now can go up to 24 inches tall. So we basically, in essence, doubled the window to be able to get over there to get over the crop. Now, don't get me wrong, we still want to go a two-pass program. And I want anybody that's tuning into this to hear this. And if you went to the Purdue Weed Field Day, you went to the U of I Weed Day, they all talked about why a two-pass program is just so crucial at the end of the day, especially for water hemp and palmer control. So in a perfect world, put down a burn down, layered residual, come back anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. And I always tell people to mark their calendar. Don't go by how many weeds are out there. If my grandpa were still alive, he'd all used to wait. Well, I got to wait till the weed flushed. We got to get out of that mentality because we need to be out there being proactive before those water hemp emerge. Because once they get up, we can get behind the eight ball and we can have some difficulties. Going back to Reservoir Rev though, so one of the other attributes that's actually built into it, we've got some built-in compatibility. So in Illinois, we're starting to use a lot of ATS and a lot of burn down mixes and UAN, so a lot of weed and feed, and with ATS along that within those tank mixes. So the superior tank mix ability that Rev has in there is second to none. It actually will mix. I've seen it mix in a 50% mix. I don't recommend doing that, but it is able to do it. So Reservoir Rev, pre or post, multiple modes of action, really, really great tool. So another tool that we have that you may have seen there was called Cairo. It is also an encapsulated acetochlor, but it is a post-only product. Okay, I want to make sure to stress that it is post-only. And the reason it's post-only, it doesn't have an acetochlor safener for the pre-side, so it is just post-only. But what's nice about it, it brings in a different group 27 topramazone. So especially for some seed corn acres or things like that, gives you some additional grass control basically in there. So basically, it also has the encapsulated acetochlor, the clopyralid, the group 4, but swaps out the mesotrione for the topramazone. I've seen it in a lot of acres this year. It's been a really nice tool to complement. We've got multiple people, putting down maybe a Reservoir Rev as a setup rate pre and then coming back in crop with a Cairo. Being able to have that flexibility has been nice. So those are those two main corn products. What you also probably saw, I guess, in the corn or bean realm is it switched gears to maybe fungicides. So really excited to announce we've got a new fungicide that we're going to be launching called Forcevo. It's a 3 mode of action product. We've been waiting for it for a long time, and we're really, really excited about it. So what it's going to bring to the table is also we'll still have that group 11 and group 3 in there, but we're also going to bring in a novel SDHI that is going to be really, really nice to complement our portfolio. So if you think about our fungicide portfolio, we have everywhere from, we can now go from the top tier with this Forcevo product, go down to Approach Prima to Approach. And then if you're in the white mold area for soybeans, we've also launched Viatude last year. And Viatude was also a 2 mode of action for that. But the Forcevo, not registered yet, hopefully to get registration for next year. We expect it probably hopefully this winter, but really, really excited about it because it's going to be a great tool to combat, especially southern rust, looking at northern corn leaf blight, gray leaf spot, a lot of things to that nature. I think it's going to be a really, really great tool. On the soybean front, plethora of things going on there as well. So we launched Sonic Boom this year. Some people may or may not be aware of it. It's a dual mode of action product. When I talk about soybean pre's, what I want people to hear and hopefully what wants them to listen is we've got to be doing high horsepower soybean pre's up front. Because if we try to get by with, just maybe single mode of action products, and I use that word get by, and I try to get growers to get that out of their verbiage because get by is only going to get us problems. And so Sonic Boom is a liquid premix of metribuzin and then sulfentrazone. So you got a group 14 and a group 5. And if like I said, I've been to a lot of plot days here in the last 3 or 4 weeks. And if you hear any people from university, they're all going to tell you keys for controller water hemp and palmer are going to be using those group 14s like sulfentrazone and having that metribuzin component. So really, really good option. Now, if you want to move up the brand ladder and you need a little bit more horsepower, we've got a new product called Kyber Pro. And what it is, it's going to bring in an additional mode of action, group 15. So it'll be a mixture of pyroxysulfone, group 15, mixture of flumioxazin, so they're group 14, and then also that metribuzin component that I was talking about. So those are two new soybean products from Corteva that are liquid. And then what I want people to do this time of the year, if I like, rewind in the stage, if you will, now's a really good time to go and evaluate how your program works, right? I think if your pre's worked well, but maybe you didn't get out there with your layered residual, know next year, like, hey, maybe I can try to get in earlier and do what I need to do. The great end Mother Nature doesn't always cooperate, but we try to do what we can. So one of our new layered residuals is going to be called Imversa, and you may or may not have heard about that. There was a limited volume last year, but it's a brand new proprietary encapsulated technology that is encapsulated acetocor. But it's different than Resicor Rev and Kairos capsule. It's a little bit bigger, and the reason I bring that up, it was actually designed to get to the soil. And what I mean by that, so when it goes out and sprayed, that capsule is designed to basically bounce off that leaf almost and get to the ground. And that way you get more residual value out of it. So it basically drives to the soil. It's going to be the preferred tank mix partner for Enlist. We're hoping that a lot of people are going to layer that residual. So in a perfect world, I put down a full rate of Kyber Pro or Sonic Boom, come back, mark your calendar, that 21, 28, the 35 days, 35 might be pushing a little bit to get that layered residual in there. Come back with that Inversa. And what you're going to see out of that Inversa, because of that encapsulated product, it's also going to enhance the crop safety. So you're going to get a little less crop response on the beans as well. So I kind of went through a lot of things really fast, I feel like, but there's a lot going on at Corteva. And what I'm excited about is it gives growers a lot more tools and options because I get it. Economics are tough right now. Not all these products are going to fit everywhere in the acre. What I hope people do, though, is build that plan, stick with that plan, pencil out what you can and can't do, and try to use some of these products basically in your mix.
Okay. One other thing I'll bring up, one other herbicide in particular that was brought up during the field day was Enlist, of course. So, I mean, everything we've been talking about, how does it work with Enlist, either as a complement or, a supplement to that? How does that play into the equation?
Yeah, so really good question. I apologize, I missed that. So we will be launching Enlist Corn is going to be basically prevalent throughout probably the Midwest starting next year. I think how we view that though, it's just another tool in the toolbox, if you will, especially on the corn front. We have so many successful tools that we can still control water hemp and palmer and corn that I view Enlist basically as a backup plan, almost, if you will. We're not going to be promoting like, hey, every acre needs to get Enlist in corn. Now, granted, it's going to be a really good option if you get in some of these weather events, because as you guys are very aware, Enlist is very neighbor friendly. It stays where it goes. This product doesn't get up and move, and then that's one really nice attribute. We've been able to prove that over the last 4 years with how many soybean acres are out there. So I think it's going to be a really nice tool. Now, switching gears back to soybeans, when I'm talking about Enlist and soybeans, I hope everybody hears me. If you talk to any university researchers, you look at some of the data. I think Dr. Rodrigo Worley last year had a really nice plot up at University of Wisconsin looking at the tank mixture of Enlist and Liberty together in that tank mix. And what that allows you to do is have a contact and a systemic herbicide. And I think that's really important to combat these water hemp, because what I'm seeing out there, like Vanessa had mentioned, I've been in a lot of plot days, not just plot days though. I've walked, I can't tell you how many thousands of acres this last month and a half. And the key is going to be those two in a tank mix, trying to do whatever we can to control those weeds. And like I mentioned before, I saw a lot of people, I think, forgo some of those layered residual applications.
Mhm.
And then what we're doing, we're spraying weeds that are probably a little bit too big. And that's pretty challenging. But when it comes in List and Liberty, it's going to be a great tool. But the thing is, we still have to do all these other things with these multiple modes of action. Because if we stop some of these, like, hey, Enlisted and Liberty's working great, I'm gonna maybe not put in my Sonic Boom. Let's not do that. That's a very, very bad plan. Set us up for potential problems here in the future. So hopefully everybody hears me when I say that.
All right, very good. Well, then that talks about the here and now and the near future. But, then as we look a little further forward in 26, 27, moving forward from here, I mean, what's the outlook? What are the plans for Corteva? I know there were a couple other things I heard about, including biologicals. I was at the field day. But also, I want to ask because I was just at the Tech Hub Live event where a lot of ag technology was being discussed at that event. How will the ag technology advances that we're starting to see now, the introductions of AI systems, drones, autonomous vehicle usage, how might that all fit into the equation as we go forward for growers that are considering what type of crop protection products to use in their fields?
Really good question. So I will say it's exciting time to be in ag. It always has been, and it always will be. But I always feel like ag is one of the sectors that leads a lot with the new technologies. We're kind of the first adopters, if you will.
Mhm.
A lot of growers are willing to take some chances and risks to look at new technologies. And you talked about the drones, the AI. I don't think there's a person on my team that probably doesn't have some kind of AI chatbot probably in their pocket. But I know Corteva's working on something. I know our CEO Chuck Magro talked about it at an event I was at not too long ago. We're looking at that. Corteva is going to try to do everything we can to be on the forefront, to stay as a leader, as an American agriculture company in the United States, and we're going to be there to produce new tools and technologies for the farmer. You mentioned biologicals. We made a whole different team, basically a new hired and completely new team that is going to be focused on biologicals. We look at that marketplace. I don't do anything personally with it, but I know it's very exciting because there's so many different things you can do, and I think we're just scratching the surface when it comes to those on learning and actually understanding what some of the things you can do when it comes to biocontrol or biofungicides. There's just a lot of the things that we are working on behind the scenes. We've got some new seed technologies that's on the forefront. We're probably talking out to 2030, but at the end of the day, know that when we look at Corteva as a whole, we're investing anywhere from $2 to $4 million a day into R&D, crop protection, and seed research. And I can say we're probably one of the companies that are doing that still. And I think I look at our commitment. I know our CEO Chuck has talked many times like we're doing everything we can there, but can we squeeze a little bit more and put more money back into that R&D engine? Because anything we can do now is going to help the farmer for the future. Because everybody knows the amount of acres really aren't growing. We got to produce more bushels per acre. How are we going to do that? And I think using those AI tools, I know at the Purdue Plot Day, one of the grad students actually had a new drone program looking at some of the scouting things. I mean, just the excitement that I think is going to be able to do with some of this technology over the next 3 to 5 years. I don't think I'm ready for it, but we're going to be here and we're going to be along for the ride and try to learn as we go. I can tell you that.
Very good. All right. Well, Brad, I appreciate the update on what's going on with Corteva. Now, you may not know this, but I'm gonna put you on the spot now because this is retail week, so you get to play the game.
All right.
It's time for fun with numbers. So I'm going to give you a number, and then you're going to have four options. And I'll let you know now that option D is just sort of the throwaway. So you've got three basically.
Okay.
And hopefully, and I've made it. I've tailored this question, this number based on stuff I heard at the Corteva Field Day. So,
Great.
all right. So your number is 125 million. Okay.
Great.
So, Brad, is 125 million, is that A, the number of enlist soybean acres in 2024? Is it B, the number of acres in 2024 sprayed with enlist herbicide? Is it C, the number of acres infested with soybean cyst nematodes in 2024? Or is it D, the number of seconds since I attended my first Corteva field day?
I don't think it's
And it's
the.
probably that considering that goes back a ways, I'm sure it's more than 125 million seconds since I attended that. So
I'm gonna say it's A or B. Um, what was soybean cyst nematode? That's coming up a lot more here recently. We're doing a lot more testing out in the field for it. I think I'm gonna go with A.
you're going with A. No, I'm sorry. That is incorrect. No, as far as I could tell, the number of enlist soybean acres in 2024 is about 55, 56 million. The correct answer is B, the number of acres in 2024 sprayed with enlist herbicide. Your friend Eric Schroeder gave us that figure on a nice little slide. So I'm like, okay, that's too good a number to pass up. So
I guess that's what I was. I guess I got them backwards. But yeah, it's a lot of acres.
It is a lot of acres, and I know the anticipation based on what he said is that that number will even grow even higher here in 2025 and is expected to keep growing. So, yeah, I remember the days when Enlist was, just sort of, like, on the radar and just starting to come into the marketplace, and, it's amazing to see where it has now ended up in the market. It is really, really fascinating.
Well, and I think that's why we have at Corteva, and if you've been in those meetings, that's why we preach about these multiple modes of action we've got to have down because we have to be good stewards of this technology. It's been a great success for Corteva. If we are not stewards and growers and retailers and farmers aren't doing what they can to have multiple modes of action, we're going to lose the tools. And that's whenever I get a chance in front of a group, that's what I talk about. I mean, we've got new things coming, but it takes a long time to get new things to the market. And so like we're trying, but at the end of the day, regulations can get involved. It can get challenging. And so that's why I try to tell people, hey, do what we can with some of the tools I just talked about earlier in the show.
Amen, amen. So, all right. Well, viewers, hope you enjoyed this special edition of Prep Life Retail Week with Brad Burkhart from Corteva joining us. Brad, thanks so much for sharing all that great information on what's going on with Corteva in the marketplace. On behalf of myself and everyone at the Crop Life Media Group, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you again next week. If you have questions or comments about today's episode of Retail Week, contact us by email or Twitter, or type your message in the comments section below. Your feedback is important to us. We will try our best to address your thoughts in next week's episode, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.